What's up everyone, Taiki here, and guess what?
I do love this guy. I love him so much. And I love his dildos in the background. He's great. And he was very big into ETH DeFi. And then he fully left the mid curve and went straight to meme coins and went heavy into GOAT and to Fart coin, which he freaking timed that pump well. He got in before the mega pump of Fart, and then he held it all the way back down. So I think he got a little depressed and he kind of was feeling a little bit of pain. And now he is back into ETH DeFi. I think he's out of Fart coin now completely. I think he's done with meme coins. I'm not. Most elegant monkey ever is best meme coin ever. But anyway, let's see why he's back into ETH DeFi. By the way, none of this is financial advice. I'm a cartoon monkey, so this is just an opinion. And I guess this is the opinion of Taiki too.
Mid-curve Taiki is back. Mid-curve Taiki is back.
So if you don't understand like mid-curve, it would be the dummies and the geniuses are buying meme coins. And the mid-curve people, the people in the middle, are too slow because they think the meme coins are so stupid that they wouldn't get in and they're missing all the gains. So he kind of left the mid-curve and went into memes, but now he's coming back to like being an intelligent person and not buying memes.
So I had rather a sad ending to my Fartcoin journey.
Yes.
But as you can see by my dildo placement right there, the red dildo and the green dildo, they're touching tips. And what that symbolizes is I think we are entering a rather choppy moment in markets.
There's no way you can't love this guy. Subscribe to his channel. He's great. All his content's great. I love him.
Where for every green dildo, it's going to be met with a red dildo. And if we are entering that market regime, I want to favor longing coins with fundamentals, but not only
We are not down market. We're in a freaking bull market, okay? We're just trying to get, trying to be shaken out. That's the case here. We got big players who want our Bitcoin and our cryptos for cheap. We are in full mega bull market.
Fundamentals, tokens with structural buy pressure for the token from protocol profits. I know this is mid-curve, right? But that's why I said mid-curve Taiki is back. If we are entering this regime, I think, the more speculative, reflexive stuff, I can buy that later, right? I can buy that once Bitcoin hits new highs, or if they just hit new, very low prices, I can just scoop some tokens up then. But for that reason, I decided to full port Maker. I know you are rolling your eyes, but bear with me here. I'll share my bull case for Maker, why I think there's edge in buying Maker, and why I think it's going to outperform in the coming weeks and months. So if you like the
he was definitely up at least $100,000 in Fart coin, maybe much more. I don't know, but whatever number he was at was a very big number, and it destroyed him to ride that wave all the way back down. If you watch videos previous to this one, probably the last 2 or 3 previous to this one, you will see him just destroyed about losing so much profit.
Then please like and subscribe and check out the premium Discord. I post 3 videos every single week and I share my portfolio in real time. So the high level overview of Maker, the bull case for Maker, is most importantly, there's gonna be roughly $30 million of buy pressure for this token for at least 2 months. And I think it's going to be very difficult, or I think it's very difficult for the market to price in that much buy pressure, especially if the majority of the market participants don't even know about it yet. So that alone itself is the main reason. But also, Maker ETH bouncing off near bear market lows, we'll talk about, despite the DAI and USDA supply nearing all-time highs, and I'll talk about additional bull cases like the Spark farming, SPK farming.
If you're unaware about MakerDAO, if you've never looked into it at all, it's a DeFi protocol on Ethereum, and probably the main thing they offer is DAI, which is a stable coin that is based around a basket of different assets to try to pin to a $1 currency. So it's cool that it's completely decentralized. That part is really cool, and it's not just like Tether or USDC, where I'm either relying on potentially completely fake money from Tether, or USDC, which is centralized, which could shut people's currency down, and so I'm not all about that. So MakerDAO is pretty cool. I've never held it. I don't fully believe in it, but I like DAI. I think it's a cool platform.
Throughout this video, I'm going to refer to a bunch of tickers, but Maker has recently rebranded to Sky Protocol. So Maker and Sky, they're the same thing, okay? But different, token denominations and different tickers, obviously. And also DAI.
I did not know that.
The stablecoin has rebranded to USDS. So, whenever I mention these tickers.
Oh, okay. So DAI is going to be USDS. That's probably a good change. because it just makes it, people understand USDT or USDC, so probably going to USDS, people just see it as another stable coin, where DAI they may think is a different like a platform of some kind. They wouldn't understand it immediately. So that's probably a good branding change for these people.
Just understand that they're the same thing. The fact that it's so confusing kind of shows you why the rebrand was so bad, but we'll address that later. But to talk about the bull case, let me just talk about Maker's business model. I don't think you need me to lecture, you don't need me to lecture you on this, but just to lay the groundwork. Maker, right, as a business, their revenue comes from people borrowing DAI, right, to lever up or farm or whatnot. But also another revenue source is the team taking the backing of DAI and putting into T-bills, like real world assets, or on-chain like farming opportunities. So if on-chain rates.
So basically, if you need dollars or a stable coin, you can deposit an asset to the Maker protocol, which I didn't know they're buying T-bills, but like that would probably be Ethereum or some larger blue chip. I'm doing quotations here, blue chip assets. You deposit some blue chip assets as collateral, and then you can borrow the DAI, aka USDS, and from there do whatever the hell you want. If you want to, do some leverage, or maybe you're trying to buy a house or something, you want to borrow some money. It's amazing that we can do this kind of stuff now. That is super cool.
It's like Athena is higher than T-bills, then they might allocate more capital there, and vice versa. So that's the revenue portion. The expense comes from salaries, like fixed costs, and also paying out like the USDS savings rate. Right now you can stake your USDS and earn roughly 6 to 8%, and that's like a business expense. And whatever is left over is the profits. So just to give you like the reason for like why Maker is trading at the current prices and why I think it's gonna go trade higher. Let's talk about like why did it pump 2 years ago, why did it dump last year, and why I think it's gonna start pumping this.
This is a good example of like the mid curve, is like how much research this guy's putting into this project, how deep he's researched this to make this decision to go in financially, where the low end of the curve sees a meme and they go, I like that monkey, I buy it. And the high end of the curve goes, I like that monkey, I buy it. And the monkey people might perform better than the Maker guy. This guy's doing all this research on this subject.
Sure. So yesterday we had a pretty healthy green dildo for Maker. It was up 21%. I mean, for like a DeFi token, that's very impressive, right? But I also think that it's rather early, right? In like the bull cycle for Maker. So in 2023, we had this bullish price action from like roughly $500 to $4,000, right? That's an 8x, very, very impressive. And
whoa,
it's hard to buy the bottom and whatnot. But for Maker, it was pretty.
I just put Maker on my list here, my chart list, and Maker's doing pretty good, pretty strong here. That's a nice little candle. All right, let's keep going.
Simple, right? On June 23rd, 2023, they essentially said, we're going to pump our token, right? We have money, we're going to buy back the token, and we're going to pump it. That's basically what they said, right? And I was making these videos back in 2023, pretty lame stuff here. And this is why people call me mid-curve techie, right? Everyone was buying meme coins and like whatever, right? I was like buying DeFi coins, catching humble 2-3x's. It is what it is, but maybe sometimes it's good to go back. But the reason it pumped is because of buybacks, and also there was some hype for the rebrand, right? New token good, right? People were like, oh my God, it's gonna pump the token. But in 2024, they rebranded and it dumped because
bummer.
It was a bad rebrand. Okay, so obviously, and also the buyback stopped, right? Buyback good, rebrand good, no more buyback, rebrand bad. Very simple. That's kind of why it retraced. And if you look at the ETH pair for Maker, it's actually trading back at its range lows, at least on the ETH pair, right? Despite looking at USDS and the stablecoin supply, back when it was like trading there, it was like the stablecoin supply was like roughly 4.7 bill, like 4.6, etc. But now we're at 8 billion, or 8 to 9 billion. But we're trading near the lows. Of course we bounced pretty strongly, and also on the Bitcoin pair. Of course it's kind of hard to call bottoms on these like this down only price action, but the market definitely remembers. There's like some.
Oops, let me go back here. This is a good chart to just recognize Bitcoin is king. If you don't understand, this is a chart versus Maker versus Bitcoin, where the previous chart was Maker versus Ethereum, and it is kind of staying in the same position, kind of staying in the same place. But with Maker versus Bitcoin, Makers are making new lows. It's hard to keep up with Bitcoin. So if you're in this game and you don't hold any Bitcoin, that's not a good idea, in my opinion, and not financial advice, in my opinion. I think you should have at least minimum 20% in Bitcoin that you don't freaking touch. That is just your safety bag, your long-term hodl you don't touch, and it probably should be way more than 20%. I mean, maybe 50% Bitcoin is where you should be starting, and even higher for some people 100% Bitcoin, 80% Bitcoin, but a big chunk should be Bitcoin, because Bitcoin might just crush everything at any minute, and you don't quite know. And when we get full, legit, like the God pump, whenever that comes, when Bitcoin really gets recognized, nothing's going to stand a chance. So even when you're pumping with your altcoins, it's always good to be aware and look at like a Bitcoin chart versus your altcoin to see, are we really actually doing that well? Because Bitcoin's hard to beat. And often the best thing you do is just hold Bitcoin. Okay.
Bottoms on these, like this, for these tokens introduce buybacks, and like on governance posts that no one pays attention to, it's typically bullish, right? If you just bought the token like July 1st, after you saw this, you just like made a bunch of money, right? And it's really, really hard for these tokens to price in these buybacks immediately. It takes time because these it's not like the buy pressure is happening right now. It's coming in the future, and of course people buy front running these buybacks, and people sell into the buybacks and whatnot. But generally, these buybacks, especially for these fully diluted tokens, tends to be pretty bullish. And you might be asking yourself, or you might be asking the question, well, isn't this already in the price? I mean, it did pump pretty strongly from the lows, but like I don't think the market can price in like the amount of buy pressure it's coming for the token in a single daily green dodo, despite it being pretty large. So let's talk about this. So the buybacks, let me kind of explain how it works and why it stopped, and why it's going to continue, or why it's going to resume. So going back to info.sky.money, let's talk about this one. So the system surplus. So this is basically the amount of dollars in the treasury, let's say, and it's currently at $64 million. Right now, for the buybacks to resume, this has to hit 120, and it's not even close, right? So of course, like people are selling the token. Like, why would you buy this thing? But if you if you check this proposal that came out yesterday on February 21st, or today actually, I'm recording this on Friday night, so that's why the price might be different. But recording this Friday night, they recently changed the threshold for buybacks to 70 million. So instead of 120 million, right, for buybacks, now it's 70 million, which is good.
Oh, okay.
It's like, hey, Taiki, it's at 64. They're not gonna buy back anytime soon. Which is true. But this proposal is paired with another proposal, this one, the Smart Burn Engine liquidity unwind. And they're basically saying that, okay, we have a bunch of protocol-owned liquidity, but we're going to reduce it to $15 million of like on-chain liquidity, right? They're going to pull LP, some Sky tokens is going to be sent to the treasury, and then the dollars are going to go to the system surplus. So if you go here, you can click on the Smart Burn Engine. It's, let's say, like at 135, right? So for this to go to 15 million, that means they need to pull out $120 million worth of liquidity.
I mean, I never looked at all these details for Maker or really any of these DeFi protocols. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that all this information is going on, and these suggestions are being put up to place and being voted on. Like this kind of thing, I usually hate DAOs, especially with like VeChain or things that aren't truly DeFi. But this is pretty interesting. A little hard to follow. I don't know exactly all the details of this. Like, what's the surplus he's talking about? I don't understand that.
Half of that being stables and half of that being Sky. So going back on this, if the system surplus is over 70 million,
I see.
Buy back the tokens.
Oh, so I guess that's over 70 million in terms of like reserves.
After they pull 120 millions of the LP, 60 million, right? Half of that is going to go into the system surplus.
Oh, okay.
And given that it's at 64 right now, it's going to be at 124.
Oh, I see.
And all of that is going to go into buybacks.
Oh,
Right?
that's cool.
And also, Maker is a profitable company, right? Or a business.
So when they pull that LP, 60 million from it is going into the surplus, so the surplus will be above 70 million, and these buybacks occurred once the surplus was above 70 million. So that's kind of cool. And although I'm not much of a mid curve, like I can understand this. This makes sense to me.
And future profits, which I think, there's growth initiatives and like bull cases to increase this profit. It's all going to go into buybacks. So basically, in 2023, you could have just bought Maker when the team said we're gonna start pumping the token, and then made like a 4x, if you just held. And now the team is pumping the token, right? So why not buy? So whenever I saw these two proposals, I bought when this came out. I also bought when this came out. So I decided like just full part.
Is that green candle just him?
Because what's the downside, right? I mean, they're going to buy back like $50-60 million of the tokens like over the next 2 months. I mean, surely, right? It's hard to price that in, and the downside is capped. Given this, given the rate at which, or this proposal, they're trying to burn they're trying to buy like $30 million per month, which is like roughly $1 million per day, right? So I'm just effectively front running the upcoming buybacks. That's partially like why, this big green dildo came out, right? I was like, oh my God, I was buying on the way up, right? And you can argue like, hey, like Taiki, like, isn't this already in the price? I mean, Maker did produce a green dildo, right? I mean, like, why would I buy this thing? But the thing is, who the fuck is reading this, right?
Right.
The only people reading this are people like me, like nerds like me, and maybe like some other nerds, right? I just don't think it's in the price, right? I think there's significant edge to be had reading these governance forums, and that's like one of the things I'm like decently good at. Whenever sometimes there's like free money laying on the table. You can like just read this and be like, okay, like it's gonna go up, right? The team is gonna pump the token, and it's good to buy. In terms of timeline for when it's gonna go live, this proposal just came out, and so people are gonna vote, right? But like when it comes to Maker, governance is me, right? There's no governance, right? It's like the founder and like the team just like pushing these things out. This is gonna go live, I think, on Monday. So as early as Monday, these buybacks can begin. So they're going to lower the surplus to 70 million, and then they're going to pull the LP. So assuming they do this the same day, there's going to be like $1 million of buy pressure on Tuesday, like next week, right? And like, who knows about this? Like, no one knows about this, right? So whenever I end.
Oh, so I thought this had to get voted on, but it's not going to get voted on. It's not even that decentralized. We just have people who are running the protocol, which is good. I prefer that. I do think DAOs are stupid. So if this is going to happen, that seems like a pretty intelligent decision to go for.
Sure. Like DeFi trades, right? For example, like my most recent like video was like buying Aave, right? It's like I thought Aave was cheap down here, and then I figured out that hey, like the Aave buyback proposals are coming. So just usually like for DeFi projects or DeFi tokens, it's not enough that the token is cheap, right? Because if the token is so cheap, why is it trading there, right? Chances are you think it's cheap, but it's probably not that cheap, right? Because the current price is the fair market price, right? Set by the market. Usually like the best setups for DeFi coins, especially because like no one looks at these things, is when you can argue that the fundamentals are good, right? Or like the valuation is cheap, but there's also like some proposal or some catalyst upcoming that people can buy into, right? You want the narrative to be, wow, return to fundamentals, the valuation is so cheap, and the buybacks are happening, and XYZ is coming, right? That's the type of things that like these tokens need in order for it to perform, right? For Aave, it was okay, very low valuation, good project, buybacks coming. It hasn't come yet, but it's gonna come sometime soon. That was the case in 2023, right? It's pretty cheap, buybacks coming. Oh, rebrand is coming, let's pump it. Of course, at some point, if the catalyst is not bullish, then it just dumps again to the downside. But that's generally how I think about it. So obviously, it's not just because there are these buybacks, it doesn't mean that Maker is going to like go parabolic and hit new highs, right? I don't really like the way I view Maker is that it's one of those things that has demonstrated in the past to outperform when the markets are choppy. So this is the Bitcoin price. Let me just overlay the Maker chart here. I've talked about this before, but when the markets were choppy in 2023, that's when Maker started to outperform, right? And then when the markets start pumping, it kind of like also participated, and then it kind of had that weakness because the rebrand was like really, really bad. And generally, I think whenever the markets are choppy, like
wait a
the
minute,
wait, like buyback token.
Mid curve, come on, Taiki. You have one example when the markets were choppy and your thing was true. Okay, Maker did well, but we have choppiness again. Maker doing poorly. Choppiness over here. Maker's following Bitcoin. So do you only have that one example? That's not enough to go on for me.
Whenever the markets are choppy, like the market just loves to bid like buyback tokens. Another example I've talked about is like Rollbit, right? So I don't own a position in Rollbit, but whoops, when the markets were choppy, people bought Rollbit, and then as soon as Bitcoin started producing green dildos, that's when Rollbit topped, which is kind of interesting, right? You want to buy these tokens, like buyback tokens and fundamental tokens, when the markets are slow, but as soon as the market starts pumping, you probably want to rotate to the more speculative stuff, and that's kind of how I approach it, right? Maybe my portfolio strategy is like long Maker when the markets are slow, but if Bitcoin hits new highs above like 110, maybe I buy back Farcoin, right?
Ooh,
maybe
he's
it's
coming back.
like
He's
that
coming
simple of a
back.
strategy. I mean, of course, I'm not gonna claim that that's gonna be my strategy because I don't really know what the future holds. But that's kind of how I'm viewing it. Maker tends to outperform when the markets are slow and buybacks are starting. That's happening right now, and the market doesn't know about it yet, right? I'm able to identify my future exit liquidity, right? My future exit liquidity are like fund managers and like momentum traders that's gonna like buy this on the way up because chart looks good, or fundamentals, like narrative, like whatever, right? Also fund managers, right? That's gonna like buy because of like the fundamentals. And also, I mean, the most important exit liquidity is the protocol, right? All the profits are gonna go into buybacks. So like, what's the downside? Pretty good. What's the upside? It remains to be seen, right? I think Maker has a pretty easy path to like, let's say 2K. I think that's like pretty easy, right? But past that, I don't really know, right? Because the recent, if you study like the chart, right? This high was because like the DeFi summer bubble, right? Or like DeFi bubble of 2021. This was because of like the speculative rebrand hype. So I'm not sure like what hype narrative it has going for it right now. But given, right? So if you study like March 24th, or yeah, March 2024, what was the stablecoin supply? March 2024. Let's check here. It was like 4.5 billion, right?
This is definitely a little bit too mid-curve for me. I am not a mid-curver. This is definitely mid-curve.
The stablecoin supply was 4.5 billion, and then Maker hit 4K.
It all makes sense. It's probably a good strategy, and he's not being greedy at all, looking for 2K Maker, which seems totally valid. I could get that. It's just boring.
Now it's at 8.2. Probably gonna go higher. So if there is a strong narrative for it, right? If there are future catalysts for it, that is perceived good by the market, then I don't really see why we can't take out these highs. I'm not predicting, right? I'm just thinking about upside bull cases, and I've been thinking about like the bull case, and this is I don't know when these things are going to happen. But going back to my last point here is Spark farming. So I think this can be a tremendous money printer. So let me just set the groundwork for like what this thing is, right? So Spark Protocol is a part of MakerDAO, but it's like its own thing. It's like an Aave fork with $3 billion of TVL. They do other things. They're kind of like an asset manager where they can borrow dollars from like Maker and then redeploy it on chain, and then they can pocket the difference. It's like Maker is like the Federal Reserve, and then Spark is kind of like a commercial bank, that type of thing. And Spark right now does not have a token, right? And as part of like the rebrand and endgame, there was kind of like I mean, this is all confusing, right? But Rune, like the founder of Maker, talks about like these stars. So like Maker, right, is sky, right? And in the sky, there are a bunch of stars, right? That's kind of how it works. And all of these sub-DAO tokens or like stars, there's gonna be multiple. There's gonna be a bunch of these. So there's Spark, there's gonna be like real world assets, there's gonna be like a Solana one, I think. There's gonna be like other stuff. And all of these stars So like little companies or sub DAOs under Maker, they're gonna have tokens, and the only way to farm these tokens is by either staking USDS or staking Sky. Okay, so it's gonna be like a fair farm where, yeah, like the only way to farm it is by just buying Maker, staking it, or buying and staking USDS.
Okay.
And if you farm SPK with USDS, you don't earn the savings rate, right? You don't earn like whatever, like the 6.5 or 8% rate that Sky is paying you. So what does that mean? Only way to farm is by introducing more demand for either USDS or the token itself, which is good, right? Which is kind of bullish. And if people mint USDS.
Did you get that? So there's going to be all these other protocols built on top of Maker, aka Sky. And the only way to get those tokens for those new protocols is that you have to contribute to a liquidity pool of either USDS or the Sky, aka Maker token. So this should be bullish for USDS and Maker. Well, even if it's just USDS, you need Maker to make the USDS or Sky. The rebrand is going to be confusing. There's too many names. But okay, I can understand that. I can get that.
Or like buy USDS. Sky can take the backing, right? Because I mean, you take USDC, you swap it for USDS, and now Maker has that USDC, right?
But so if you were staking a USDS in Maker protocol, you would get like 6% interest. But if you put that in the liquidity pool to try to farm this new token, whatever it's going to be, you don't get that interest. So that was one thing to be aware of.
And with how the business model, like how the business works, they can take that backing and redeploy it into T-bills, like paying like 4%, or put it into like Athena or Aave, let's say like 4 to 10%. Let's just say 5% to simplify things. So if Spark farming creates, let's say $1 billion worth of additional like stable coins just for the purpose of farming it, what that means is if that $1 billion is earning like 5%, that's $50 million of revenues with zero cost, right? Because they're subsidizing that growth by printing new tokens, these Sky tokens, Spark tokens, and all that profit is going to go directly into like the system surplus, and then they're going to just buy back the token, right?
Okay.
Like $1 million a day. And if all these stars, right, not only like the Spark token, but like more stars come out, it's kind of like a way to like Ponzify like the farming, right? It's also like I don't really know how much this thing can be worth, but I think it can reasonably be worth like $500 million to like $1 billion, like the Spark token, and that's going to attract a bunch of farmers, right? Like let's say you can earn like 10% staking USDS to farm the Spark token that you can accumulate or dump, right? I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And if people do that, then the metrics are going to start pumping, right? Like these metrics are going to start looking fantastic, right? Just think about the future, right? Just think about the future narratives. Yes, it kind of looks bad right now, but that's already reflected in the price. What's going to get people to buy this thing like up here, right? It's probably going to be like a mix of buybacks, like sub-DAO farming, like Spark, like star farming, like Spark, more tokens pumping, right? Like more tokens coming out, and then like other growth initiatives, like their expansion to Solana. So that's kind of how I view the Maker trade. They have all these catalysts going for it. I don't know what the timing for.
Just so you know, too, like this chart that he's got pulled up right here, this is a weekly chart. This is a dramatic, look, this comes back to 2021. This is a dramatic amount of time. So to be pulling up in this area, we're talking the end of 2025, maybe 2026. So don't think that this is like a quick pump that he's got you shown up here. This is a long-term trade, at least in the chart he's showing.
And then like other growth initiatives, like their expansion to Solana. So that's kind of how I view the Maker trade. They have all these catalysts going for it. I don't know what the timing for like this farming thing is. So if this doesn't happen anytime soon, then maybe the upside is fairly capped. But the Maker team, they're not stupid, right? They know what they're doing. Last time they said that they're going to pump the token, they pumped the token pretty well.
Yeah.
And I would assume that if they're just like trying to pump the token immediately, they're probably going to coincide it with other strong narratives. And I think the Spark token is going to come relatively soon. I mean, this thing was supposed to come out like a year ago, right? And now it's like 2025. So it's ready, right? They're just like waiting for the right time. And I think now is a pretty good time, especially given the growth of USDS and like the stablecoin and the current market environment. So yeah, like why am I buying? Buybacks are good. And there's other catalysts that the market is not too aware of, but I think that's going to add additional tailwinds for the asset. And, the way I view Maker, like I said, so I mean, this is taking like consumer staple stocks and dividing it with like the S&P. And
holy shit, I like Fartcoin Taiki better. Way more entertaining.
Whenever there's like a recession, the consumer staples outperforms like the index. And similarly, if I have a view that we are in a on-chain recession, where we had the Argentina coin rug, Trump, like the president of the U.S. is like rugging, right? Melania is rugging. The sentiment on-chain is pretty bad, and I think it's going to come back, but I'm not sure when. So if on-chain is in a recession, then I think the markets are going to favor predictable cash flows over pure speculative narratives, fraud, and
I disagree with that, but okay.
And like dream big narratives, right? So literally how I'm viewing it is, okay, I'm long Maker because I have an edge, right? My edge is reading the governance forums, right? People like the market being unaware. I am aware, okay? So I can buy before these people. And even if like I'm not even like that early to the trend, I mean, it's really, really hard to price in all these, all the amount of buybacks it's going to experience in like the coming days and weeks. So I think that alone can send Maker to much higher valuations, and especially right if the market are slow, then people are going to find reasons to buy this thing because like good narrative. So that's why I full ported Maker. I think it's one of those low downside, moderate upside type of assets where I don't have huge expectations for the token. Like I'm not saying it's going to 10x or anything, right? But I think it's a pretty asymmetric risk reward, even despite this small green dildo, right? Or this modestly sized green dildo.
That's a pretty nice green dildo.
So for that reason, I bought Maker back to my mid-curve roots, right? Mid-curve Taiki is back. And, for me, I try to, make the most out of any market environment. Sometimes that means like buying meme coins or like speculative stuff. And sometimes it means, okay, like the markets are kind of slow.
I highly, highly encourage you to go back and watch his Fartcoin error. That was hilarious. That was such a funny thing to see this guy full port into Fartcoin. Go back and watch that. It's great. It's really great to see the difference too. Because I got introduced to him during the meme coin time with him. So that's kind of how I knew him. I didn't know him as this mid-curve, even though I've heard him joke about it before. But to see this video is so drastically different to what I've seen from him before. So it's very interesting.
Let me just, buy something. I can just size in, right? Make it a 2x, 3x. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Can't complain. And I think...
Look how depressed he is. I'll take a 2x. He just probably had a 20x in his hands and he let go. But
Maker is one of those assets that I understand really, really well. And I just have like a sixth sense when it comes to like, okay, like this shit's gonna pump, right? So for that reason, I bought a bunch, and I intend on holding it as long as the markets remain rather choppy, and as long as the buybacks resume and continue, and I'll be monitoring the stablecoin supply growth, and most importantly, like the real bull case is, okay, like when are these?
All right, let's call that day for that. Let's get that point. So I guess in terms of like, this is a great example of mid-curve. This is perfect mid-curve content right here. It seems very well thought out. We're going to go into the charts in a second. I just want to say that like, this is probably very valid. I can understand this mindset. I understand the perspective. It's not the perspective or the strategy that I would typically have. For me, I have kind of more the Murad point of view, where it's like the barbell, where I have a large percentage, mostly more than 50. Let me think. More than 50% is Bitcoin as my stable freaking thing. Everything else fucking fails, Bitcoin will get me there, right? And then on the other side of the dumbbell, I have the stuff that is highly explosive. I'm not looking for 2x's. I'm looking for 50x and above, the minimum. So that's my play on this. You know, I would trade Maker for sure if I see the opportunity in a chart, because that's what I'm going to be looking for. But in terms of being like a bag holder, a diamond holder for Maker, I can't do that. I can't get that FOMO. I need the FOMO. I need to believe that we can get a 50x. I can't think I'm getting a 2x and 4x and be okay. Maybe if I was moving with the large position, you know, if I sold everything, that would make more sense, but I'm not selling Bitcoin. There's no way I'm selling Bitcoin. So let's look at the chart here. So this was the chart that he had pulled up, but this is the daily, not the weekly. So we can see this sort of the two impulses he had, the one and then the second impulse. So not taking into consideration all of his information he just gave, which is valid and interesting, and hopefully will do well for Taiki because he deserves it at this point. But I mean, if we have a low here, we have a higher low here. I mean, obviously that's easy to see, easy to read. So it looks like we could be in a new trend. We could be in a bullish trend. Obviously, if we were buying, I'd be much more excited to be buying down in this area. Of course, for me, I'm an HVF trader. I trade Hunt volatility funnels. You can learn more about that if you want to from Francis Hunt. He teaches that, and I recommend it too. I love Francis. So like this area, if I was paying attention to this chart, although this is not a good funnel for me, I wouldn't have taken this. But that's where I'd be looking. At this point, to try to think of buying in now, it's hard to be buying in now. If I liked what Taki was saying, if I agreed with this, I don't think I'd be buying now. You know, we have a little bit of a channel, which is great. So we can either try to buy in at the break of the channel, or buying in if it pulls back down. It does look like we're pulling back down. I mean, obviously, here, so if you can see this consolidation area that's over here, we're right in that zone again. So maybe this isn't a terrible place to buy, actually. If I was buying right here, maybe I would take this as a little bit of a higher risk play. I can buy in this area right here. I have this consolidation support, and maybe I would just put a stop down here, right at this level, right at the dollar, what is that, 1,220, around that area for a stop, just to save myself from further downside. And if I do get stopped out and come back in, I can always buy on the when we break through, because I'd be looking at, you know, of course we're going to be looking for this upper trend line, or we call it a what do we call this? A capping descending grind line. This line right here. So of course it'd be easier to try to take the breakout and take the retest and then come in. But if you're a more aggressive trader, maybe you want to start buying now with tight stops right around the 120, or right around the 1200, as I said before, 1220. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think, you know, I love Taki. I'm not bullish on ETH at all. I'm not bullish on ETH DeFi. I get it for the mid curve. I don't get it for 50x's. So if you agree with my stance, or like the way that I trade, or the way that I'm investing in terms of these, Bitcoin is my safe play, and then I go for the explosive high X return. Check out Constellation Network, ticker DAG. Check out Quant, ticker QNT. Check out Most Elegant Monkey Ever, check ticker MEME, meme. Those, I can't find anything more bullish than those three right now. Ads is another one. Alchemy Exchange, ADS. I don't know anything more bullish than those things. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. If there's anything you want me to check out, or you think I'm missing, please let me know. Until next time, stay elegant. And check out Taiki. He's great. Love him. Love him. All right. See you guys.